That's a liberal.
It's like saying, would you rather have wine or water?
Wine, a half inch means a lot sometimes.
Nobody likes to eat crow. Right.
Now I'm starving.
How much is the economy today? It's that much.
This pumpkin latte sucked, and I want to speak to your manager.
Objection, hearsay. Objection, leading. Objection, hearsay.
Where is that woman when Biden speaks?
Get the hell out of here. His name is pronounced Joni. That's the word it's pronounced. And that's the end of it.
She was just there. I swear she was just there. And now she's gone. Welcome to Right Stuff, everybody, where you never know what's going to happen. And there she is.
My whole screen went black as I'm sitting here watching it.
Ours too. You were gone.
Well, you were frozen and there was no sound, and then it said video failed to play.
Okay. Well, let's see how far we can get tonight. Well, we have a whole bunch of great viewers who are now part of this cast because they're here with us every week. We've got Beer Nuts coming to us I think he's coming from Twitter tonight. Oh, no, Rumble. How are you, Beer Nuts? Good to have you. We've got Grandma Joe.
Hello,
How
Grandma.
are you, Ma? We got Billy Nolan on time. And we have Lucille Chavone and Francine. How are you, Francine? Yeah, right, exactly. Poof. If only I could make Biden disappear like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very happy. Only you, thankfully, you came back. I wouldn't.
Thankfully. Well, you say hello to everyone for 1 second, because now I have to get up.
Uh-oh. Well, here you go. Ramon Hernandez is with us. Hello, Ramon. Sean is back. How are you? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. However you listen to us, just so long as you listen to us, we appreciate it. Colleen Mahoney is here. How are you, Colleen? And our in-house comedian, Debbie Lebedo, is with us tonight. Wow. So how many of you out there have the end of summer blues? I'm kind of blue because summer's over.
Well, you live in all summer, all year round.
I do. But there's just something about knowing that, you're in summertime. And
yeah, well, I did nothing all summer, so I'm fine. I'll just fly to Florida and Myrtle Beach.
Neither did I. I did nothing either. But it's that knowledge that, summertime is here and everything is good. I'm still having a summer vibe. Oh, good. Well, pass that on. Oh, Martin Lee is with us. How are you, Martin? Yeah, there's just, Lucille was on a cruise.
Nice.
One of my favorite cruises. I love that cruise. Eventually, we'll go on one, right, Jen?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Before we're dead.
Well, I hope not. I hope we don't wait that long. Jennifer's always too busy to go everywhere. We're still waiting to celebrate our birthdays. That was in March. By going to Boca. Maybe we'll do
the joys of owning a company with no employees.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day today here as well in South Carolina. How was it in New York, Jen?
Beautiful.
I
got to drive outside for about all of 30 minutes. I went for a ride.
Well, lots of things happened in New York today. I didn't have a chance to clip it up, but the deputy chief of staff for Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo before her, Sun is her name, was found to be a Chinese spy. She was selling off favors to the Chinese. Isn't that interesting?
Very. She was fired before that, though. So
yeah,
Hochul
as soon as Hochul found out what she was doing, she fired her. But it was happening for, they said, a decade.
Millions of dollars, yeah.
Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So you want to know why Democrats raise taxes, why we need all those speed light cameras, why we need all those corporate taxes? Well, it's because We got to buy houses for our deputy chiefs of staff
And our migrants.
and our migrants. Mediterranean was my mom's favorite cruise. Ah, yeah. I did we go on the Med? I can't remember. We went to Mexico. My I love the Bermuda cruises because Bermuda is such a small island and you can get around on mopeds. It's really really cool. But I think if I had to say my favorite anywhere cruise was to Alaska. That was a really great cruise. Espionage equals death penalty. You would think so, right? You would think that it would mean death penalty. Not so much. Hey, Jen,
Yeah.
last night I texted you about watching the Ronald Reagan movie, right,
Yes.
with Dennis Quaid. So after your father and I went to watch it, and I really highly recommend it for anybody who likes politics and anyone who likes Reagan. First of all, not a seat empty in the entire theater, and apparently all of the shows were sold out like that. So that does my heart good. The similarities between Reagan and Trump and what was happening in their world, amazing. Similarities between the two, personality wise, amazing. But afterwards, I decided to find out, Reagan was shot. There was an assassination attempt on his life by John Hinckley Jr. So I wanted to know whatever happened to John Hinckley Jr. because, as I recall, he's the only one that tried to assassinate a president that actually lived afterwards. Guess where John Hinckley is?
Where?
He's free. He's free. You can find him on X. Speaking of X, if you're watching us on X, please retweet or reX or whatever it's called. Yeah, so he's on X, and he actually commented on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life.
I'm
And
sure it's a real account.
it's a real account. And he said that violence is not the answer, but they let him out. They let him out conditionally after 34 years in a mental institution, and now he is out unconditionally, and he lives in Virginia. So, are we all amazed, astonished? Did any of you know this?
No, no one talks about it.
Yeah, well,
They only talk about it if you actually get killed.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't believe. I can't believe that the government let him out. I mean, you try to assassinate a president and then you get released, especially that they had you in a mental institution the whole time.
But this poor woman down south is sentenced to life for selling pot to support her kids 40 years ago. Life.
Just, oh my god.
Didn't do drugs, but was selling them to support her family. She was a single mom. Life.
Well, it just goes to show you. Did you?
But actually, Kim Kardashian got her out.
That I remember that one. It was Kim Kardashian with the help of Trump. Trump was the one who pardoned her. Yeah. Well, okay, but John Hinckley is roaming free in the streets of Virginia just for
and no one helped him to get out. But this is
who wants to know. Assassination attempt.
Don't go vacationing in Virginia.
Well, just some, look, you heard it here on Right Stuff. Democrats love to hire Chinese spies. Yes, indeed. Wasn't that Swalwell who was actually having an affair with the Chinese spy? And he's still sitting in Congress. So stranger things than Hinckley have happened. Better known as revenue collectors. Yeah, exactly. Alaska cruise is on my bucket list. Oh, definitely go. It's worth it. We went, and I went twice, and we don't take the excursions. My husband and I tend to go out and roam the area. We play golf out there. We did a lot of really great stuff. We saw the salmons running up in the stream, spawning, and we just sat on the side of the stream and we watched that happen for about an hour. It was fantastic.
And he almost got eaten by a bear. No.
Yeah, almost got eaten by a bear. The movie is called Reagan, and So okay, Billy Nolan knew he's free. Susan DeRima, hi. We miss you too, Susan. We're here every Tuesday, and if you can't catch us live, you can always catch us on reruns. So, Squeaky from Tried to Kill Gerald Ford, ex-Manson girl. Squeaky Fromm tried to
It's
kill. Yeah.
She was an ex-Manson girl. She tried to kill Gerald Ford.
That's
Her
right.
name was Squeaky
Right.
Fromm.
I vaguely remember that. Where is she now? Next thing is he will run for senator for the Democrat Party. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. No, I didn't know Hinckley was free. Geez, folks who didn't commit any crime served more time than Hinckley. Wow. Well, Hinckley served 34 years in a mental institution and then was out on conditional parole, and now he's not conditional. So look it up. You'll find it. It's crazy. Yeah, Alaska was the greatest. Okay, so because I saw the movie Reagan, and because today was the first day of school for Columbia University, and because there were protests at the college, they picked up where they left off in spring. I thought I'd show this clip of Ronald Reagan when there were protests about the Vietnam War in California colleges, including Berkeley. I don't know if you ever saw this, Jen, or he was governor of California, and this is what happened. I was only 6, so you wouldn't have known about it
I
first.
was 11 years behind.
Right, exactly. But anyway, I don't know if you ever saw a clip of this, but anyway, here's Ronald Reagan, and here's how he handled the protesters at college.
Once the dogs of war are unleashed, you must expect that things will happen and people being human will make mistakes on both sides. But this violence was precipitated. And I would like to say one more thing, Professor. If we're going to start simply from when an incident takes place after the violence has started and say, oh, this has now become the issue, I would like to propose that the issue is that on the campuses, you who are adults, you who are entrusted with those young people and their guidance, have a responsibility to make it plain to them from the very beginning that you yourselves do not tolerate the kind of conduct that has led to the burning of Wheeler Hall, that has led to 2 murders on the campus of UCLA.
We are making it clear. It's a fine political speech, but we have made that clear over and over again, and I think you know, if you stop talking for politics, that the overwhelming majority of the faculty and students are against violence, have done more to curb violence than you. I think violence escalates precisely because every time there's a regents meeting, the chancellors of all 9 campuses have to scurry around and see if they can put an end to negotiations so that the governor doesn't come to the regents meeting and get them fired, as he has already done before. You've created an atmosphere on the campus where no one wants to listen.
You are a liar. Now, don't you talk about political speeches. Don't you make a political speech of that kind and charge me with going and trying to fire chancellors. I have fought to keep politics out of that Board of Regents and out of the running of the university, and will continue
to negotiate many times.
Negotiate? What is to negotiate? What is...
The university is a public institution.
That's right. But the university...
For its own community and for the community of Berkeley that live around it.
All of it began the first time some of you who know better and are old enough to know better let young people think that they had the right to choose the laws they would obey as long as they were doing it in the name of social protest.
Yep. He sent in the National Guard. He broke it up, and that was him as governor of California. He took a lot of heat for that. They accused him of escalating the violence by sending in the National Guard. But I think Kathy Hochul could maybe take a page out of Reagan's book if she wasn't playing with Chinese spies. I don't know. It would be nice if the criminal justice system would release Pedro Hernandez for his wrongful conviction of killing of Etan Pates. You know, Bob, I know that you know the Etan Pates case very well, and I know that they say that I mean, I know they've made movies about it, so you would know better than anybody about, who the real killer was. But think about all the people that are in jail right now that don't belong in jail. There's got to be thousands. There's got to be thousands. I mean, there are plenty who served who should have never served, and have completed their sentence, or later on, people have come forward and said it wasn't that person. It was
Look at the five. What are they? The Fab Five or whatever. They're from. They raped the girl in Central Park. And now he is a politician.
Yes, he
They
is.
lost
But
their whole trial.
the thing about that was, they were at the Democratic National Convention and they were holding them up as if they were some wonderful kids. The fact is, they were all there. They were there. They didn't rape her, but they were there.
Yeah.
They beat her. They brutalized her. They were part of the gang. But no, the news media is not going to say that. The news media is going to say that Donald Trump took a full-page ad, saying that they should be executed. And then it was proven that they didn't actually rape her. That's correct. But by their own testimony and their own admittance to other people, they were there. They were part of it. They punched her. They held her down. So, they didn't go to jail. They were exonerated of the rape, but they didn't pursue the beating or the.
Well, they spent decades in jail.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Okay, I'm not going to argue the point.
They never went to jail. Okay.
I believe that they were exonerated before they weren't convicted of the crime. They were exonerated. They found the people who actually raped her because the charge was rape. Now, I could be wrong. I'm wrong on a lot of things. I'm old. I have Biden disease.
No,
sometimes.
I thought he just got out of jail 2 years ago. That's why.
No, she got out around 2010, wrote a book. Oh, thanks, John. Actually, didn't know that. So there's two that are alive. Okay. Lying jackass. I'm trying to decide who is the lying jackass since we're so far behind. Again, where are the parents of these entitled assholes? They're at home, yelling and carrying on.
We demand. We demand for you to let us see your books. We demand the transparent demand.
Yes, 1969, Martin Lee, the Reagan clip. Yeah. I wrote a book, The Little Boy from Soho. In it, I prove how Pedro Hernandez did not kill Really? Okay. Well, that's right. I knew you wrote that book. Of course. I'm sorry. Again, brain fart. Thank you for reminding us, Bob McKenna. Everybody buy that book. Bob, tell everybody where they can buy the book. Love it that the conservative Hearst family pumped cash into Berkeley and it boomeranged on their plans. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It's I don't know. It's all I know is this. I know that our college system has been in trouble for a very, very long time, and it continues to be a problem. It's not educating children, it's indoctrinating a lot of kids, and it's a big problem. So I think that we need to take a strong hand. Hi, how are you, Ralph? Good to have you. So you saw that six of the hostages yesterday were murdered by Hamas, but we're going to talk a little bit about that, and Biden now blaming Netanyahu for that. But I wanted to talk about, when Reagan took office, during Jimmy Carter's years, there were American hostages, 52 American hostages in Iran, and they actually released them when Ronald Reagan was sworn in. The day of his inauguration, they were released. So I am going to play a clip right now, the roundtable of reporters talking about the inauguration and talking about the release of the hostages. Watch.
There are times when words seem almost inadequate to describe events, and this has been one of those weeks. The installation of a new leader at home, and the freeing of 52 Americans abroad.
You're talking about words being inadequate. I think all of us in this business, we go through a period, we think that we deal in superlatives, and there's always, each story is the greatest story. But this one for me, and I think for all of us and for the country, there had never been a time when so many things came together so swiftly that bound the country together. I mean, for myself, just to be very personal about it, I was sitting up there in front, right directly, front row center in the first seat, looking up at where the new president and the old president were standing, just gathering, and then turning
At the Capitol.
At the Capitol, and turning around this West Front, the first time ever in 200 years it's been held there, and looking down, you could see Pennsylvania Avenue, the procession moving at you with both of these new, the old and the new coming at you with the lights of the procession. And I had a television plugged into my, and listening to events 8,000 miles away. Literally, the planes are on the runway, the engines are running, they're about to be airborne, getting the bulletin and having it swept through the crowds, and the recognition that all these things that the country had been, and the world in fact, had been bound up so much in the last 15 months had just evaporated, and there we were, the old and the new. And I also, watching Jimmy Carter on that inaugural platform, I mean, the sights were so memorable, this ravaged look, someone born through that final moment of frustration. There has not been an inauguration like it for many, many reasons, and the country still hasn't recovered.
Well, speaking of the inauguration itself and Mr. Reagan's speech, Haynes, a lot of people thought that the new president was brimming with confidence, and perhaps that was a good thing, coming as it did at the time of the hostages being released, almost as if he were seeking a revival of old-fashioned American optimism.
I don't think this speech would have been a memorable one, however, saying all that, had it not been for the circumstances. For instance, what he said was essentially what he's been saying for many, many years. The government is too large. He restated his positions that we're going to cut back. We're going to turn back power to the states. He meant it. He said those things before. And he talked about heroes. America has not ended its day of heroes, and Churchill and so forth. But, you know, really, again, extraordinarily so, the timing was just right, because even as he was saying that, literally, the plane was just about within 2 minutes to take off from that, from 8,000 miles away in Iran.
Strength can change things.
Yeah.
Fear can change things. And I think that what's going on right now is throughout the world, not just this country, but throughout the world, we are capitulating to terrorists. And the problems of today were problems yesterday, and they got resolved, and then they came up again in different iterations. And, you know, anytime I think, geez, where the hell, how's America gotten to this point?
We were here.
It's crazy stuff. I mean, it's crazy to think that Margaret Thatcher needed oil from Russia, and that Ronald Reagan was fighting Russia because of their intent to spread communism throughout the world. And Reagan wanted to try and stop them and try to alert people to it.
Well, look what Carter did to Reagan. He set him up Castro let him out right when Reagan got into office. The migrants came on the flotilla, and he had to handle that. What I'm saying is, and fought for it not to have them here. Look what they did. They destroyed it. Trump's coming back as it's happening again. Reagan came in 81. Carter had done it. It had started happening already.
Absolutely. I mean, we had the Haitian refugee crisis. We had the Cuban refugee
the Haitians
crisis.
weren't as violent. Now it's 3 out of 4 individuals arrested for crimes, mostly violent, are migrants. It was just reported today. It's all over.
Finally, it's getting reported today because the news media cannot. They're not respected. Nobody believes them anymore.
But what they said was, and this is why they're full of shit, they said the NYPD released information that 3 out of the 4 are illegal migrants. And then they went on, and they go, and then the NYPD went on to say they're not allowed to report on the migrants, like if they're migrants or not. So they sort of flipped it. They're like, oh, you're saying this, but you're not supposed to say it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they're everywhere, and and they're in Chicago and I think Colorado, and they're taking over apartment buildings.
Yeah, that's the Venezuelan
Yes.
gang, and they're not saying that it's the Venezuelan gang because Colorado welcomed all the migrants there, so they're reluctant
high.
to say they're a Venezuelan gang. I mean, it's crazy what's going on right now.
Listen, now, sorry, go ahead.
No, I have nothing else. Go.
I was going to say now, you can't say the Pledge of Allegiance in school, but in Minneapolis, they passed the law. They're the first state that 5 times a day they'll sound the horns and the alarms for Muslim prayer.
That's right.
But you can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. You can't praise God. You have to praise Allah.
Ages ago, we showed a video of a KGB agent who came to America for asylum, who told us that Russia has been trying to infiltrate our government for the longest time. And, some people might say that Reagan opened the door for Iran to do what it's doing, because when people were buying from Russia and Reagan oil from Russia, and Reagan said, don't buy from Russia, buy from, the Saudis. It was the Saudis that were selling us oil, not Iran. But if you remember in the 80s, Japan was booming, the Middle East was booming, and those cultures, Americans were adopting those cultures or enamored of the wealth of those cultures. But it was all about who we were trading with and who our allies were at the time. So, everything that we do has a consequence, and everything that America does has a consequence worldwide. And now, for the first time, we're seeing America actually following other countries and what they do, namely in what's going on in England and in France and in Europe, where the Muslim refugees have infiltrated those countries, and they are changing the dynamic of those countries, and they're letting it happen, and we're letting it happen here. It's amazing that the Pates sold their condo for $1 million less than the asking price 6 months after my book got published, and they moved to Hawaii. Bob, it's good that you're bringing this up, because I know that I've seen the crime shows on this. I've heard about it, and there was never any strong evidence for Hernandez. But it felt like there was such pressure to close the case that they just.
New York Homicide has a good episode on this.
Yeah,
if you go on Netflix.
My book is no longer for sale, but I just want to get Pedro Hernandez freed based on my information. It's keep pushing. God bless you that you're doing it. Carter was a complete failure. Yeah, he was. And to me, the closest thing to Jimmy Carter is Joe Biden. And I think Kamala Harris is going to be just as bad. My book was on sale at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. All right. Well, maybe you guys can get a secondhand copy. Biden is 10 times worse than Carter. Harris literally is a foreign emissary to be kind. We are dumb because the red carpet has been rolled out for socialism. Indeed, it has. It's amazing what's happening. It's just amazing. Like I said, not just here, everywhere. And we're following the leader, the strongest country in the world, the only place, the last bastion for freedom, is giving it up. And you see these young people. And I mean, you think about it. We have coddled our young people so much that they think socialism is a good deal. And we have become sucked on the teat of government for so long that we don't understand that we are the government and that we are not entitled to things, nor should we be entitled to things. And we actually, we don't reward hard work anymore. I mean, look at Kamala Harris right now.
There is no hard work to reward.
Yeah.
There's none. Even the people that I thought were going to be hard work there is none at all. It's gone.
Well, we're demonizing big corporations, right? Now it's the economy is bad because it suddenly greedy corporations. Really? Well, if all the greedy corporations were gone, who would
have jobs? Exactly. So if you tax them more, they're going to have less jobs because they're going to have less brick and mortar. They're not going to have places to employ you.
Well, they can leave just like they left before. And
We should all go to Venezuela. I'm sure it's lovely there now.
You know, I guarantee you they can find workers. And with families, parents fear their kids instead of parents having the upper hand. Absolutely, Debbie. We've been fast asleep for decades. Our academics, our anti-America is implemented everywhere. Absolutely. Mainstream media are total puppets. Yeah, I'm dying to know, really, who owns all the mainstream media, because it's certainly, I don't know, Hollywood. I don't know.
Soros owns a lot of it.
Well, he owns stock in it, but somebody is pushing the editors, or some people are pushing the editors. I mean, I think that, it comes back to, globalism. And we've talked
But
about
every
that.
news outlet is different. It depends on what they believe in. Fox is different than CNN. New York One sucks. It's the Post and the Daily News. Look at them, verse and verse. If you want the left thing, you go to the Daily News. If you want to read conservative news, you go to the Post.
Well, but that's been the way it's been throughout history. Just to
There's always going to be rivalry, because if you all agreed, we'd all be dead because we'd kill ourselves from boredom.
Well, but throughout history, the press has always been biased, right? Whoever the editor of the paper was is what kind of story would come out, and so it's always been biased. So nothing has really changed there. The question is that why would the press, who is protected by the First Amendment, and the First Amendment was created for the press to be able to speak their mind, why would they fall in line with any one political party? Why would they fall behind socialism or communism, where the press isn't free, where they couldn't ply their trade? That's what I don't understand. They're undermining themselves. America is undermining itself individually, because we've been taught now since Johnson, look to the government to give you money. Look to the government to take care of you. Look to the government to take care of your family. Actually, since FDR. So we've been trained that way. And we know that FDR loved Hitler. He thought Hitler had a great, thing going over there. And he was enamored with Hitler. So we've been trained now to look to our mighty government for everything, and that undermines everything that we.
And look how that is. Hitler's like Putin. Well, Putin's like Hitler. He is.
Yeah. Well, he's
in a different way.
He was a KGB spy. You always have to be suspicious of that. He was trained in a certain way, and he's trained to mind F you, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
12 years later, his job changed from governor to president. The world and circumstances changed, but Reagan didn't. No, he didn't. And they did not like him because he spoke very clear, plain, and frank. And he
layman's terms. Layman's terms.
And he had no problem calling you a liar if he thought you were a liar. They said he was a cad. A lot of people didn't care for him. They turn racism into a business. They certainly do. Okay, all right, we're behind. Who creates jobs, government or private enterprise? Well, it's supposed to be it's supposed to be private enterprise, but
the government runs them.
In communism and socialism, it's the government. No one wants to work. They don't. We've finally gotten to a place where we are so lazy, nobody wants to work. Ralph is correct. Yes, that's often the case. I will leave you with this. Once people read that, I will say on the next scheduled podcast, everyone will look at the screen and say, holy shit, I can prove that it happened. Look forward to it, Bob. The real threat are the migrant criminals breaking into homes and even posing as delivery workers, while Democrat leaders choose to look the other way while silencing others for speaking out on this. They have a plethora of ways to get your money, to harm you, to steal from you, because as Trump said, these are not all good people coming here looking for work. These are a lot of people from insane asylum and gangs and criminals, and the press can't hide it. Press has been infiltrated. Yeah, well, could not comment on my phone. Switch to computer. Oh, Professor, good to have you here. Because the media was in charge prior to Nazism, using democracy to murder democracy. Yeah. This is why it's wrong to depend on the government. 100%. What I don't understand is why a socialist ticket is even in our republic. What were they even allowed to run like Bernie Sanders? Why? Because we're a free country. We're a free country where the voters get to choose. And that's why it's so delicate. That Constitution protects every citizen living here. And whether you like what they have to say or not, or that you like their positions or not, they have a right to organize, they have a right to protest, they have a right to run for office, and that's exactly what happened. And
As long as you're a Democrat. As long as you're a Democrat. As long as you're a Democrat.
Well, listen, there was a time when the Republicans were in control and things weren't so great either. I mean, there's the problem is that the Democrats and Republicans have morphed into each other, and all of government now is corrupt, and all of it is a swamp. And you're lucky if you can get in and out of Washington and still keep your soul. You are fortunate, but there's not a lot that can say that they did. Not a lot. The American Jews to this day love Roosevelt. Yeah, they do. They do. And they're still talking well about Biden. And look at what's going on. Neville Chamberlain also liked Hitler. Yeah, lots of people did. It is amazing how America took so long to get into that war and to do the right thing. Both Reagan and Trump are not politicians. That's right. That's a good point, Deb. That's an absolutely good point. Wonder how Kamala handles Putin's Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un. Hopefully
she'll blow them like she blew everyone else. That's what she did. That's what she did.
I'm not going to say. Listen, I'm not going to not talk about it. I mean, the Dems want hands off on Kamala Harris's sex life and all that stuff. They want to try and stop people from talking about it. But as I recall, they were talking about Donald Trump's sex life since 2015.
Her own boyfriend, which got her to where she is today, said she blew her way to the top. He goes, and I retired, and I don't care. I'll say it. She doesn't deserve to be where she is. She's not smart enough.
Manifesto from Tennessee is out. Is that from the shooter? I know we saw pieces of that. I don't know if you're talking about that. Time for research for sure. I had never heard that FDR was enamored with evil Adolf. Geez, that's eye-opening news. Oh yeah, you just presume because history is they clean it up, and we talked about it last week about Wyatt Earp and how history remembers Wyatt Earp as a hero, and there's on Netflix Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy Wars, which actually tells the rest of the story. And the truth is that he was an outlaw for a very long time before he cleared his name, and he lived long enough for movies, and he consulted on them, and he told the story the way he wanted it heard. But he did some murders himself, so you have to really dig deep, but you can find the letters between FDR and Hitler, and Sanger from Planned Parenthood. She was involved in that whole,
There's a website. It's the archives. It's an archive website that as long as anybody ever put it on the internet, you can find it. That's how I found out the phone book from Brooklyn.
I think that the archives, the National Archives, will have the letters between FDR and Hitler. I'm trying to remember. You know what? If you watch the documentary on the Roosevelts, I believe they actually talk about it in there. But you can read his letters; they're out there. Everybody's letters are out there. Everything is out there. You just got to look into it. This is why gun control laws don't work, because criminals don't apply the laws. Absolutely. That's what makes them criminals. Freedom itself comes with responsibility to maintain it. It does. People confuse freedom with free domicile. Excellent. There's no donkey or elephant, just a unicorn party. That is fantastic because it's true. Okay. Is it what it is? What it is? Yeah, but can we change it? Now we have the merging of Iran, China, Russia against America. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And is there anybody who is running for higher office right now that can stop it other than Donald Trump? The answer is no. And that's why tonight, it's called the Justice League, because strength justice comes through strength, and I don't know anybody who has the gullions that Donald Trump has. And you add Tim Scott, and you add Tulsi Gabbard, and you add RFK Jr., and you add Elon Musk, JD Vance, all Vivek Ramaswamy. You put all these people together, the ones that have been speaking out against injustice, and you have a powerful, powerful team. So let's see what else they do to try and keep him out of the White House. And yet the so-called feminists were turned on to Jesse Waters over the Kamala issue. Oh, all right. So let's talk about this fake pearl clutching that's going on. Last week we talked about Donald Trump going to Arlington Cemetery on the 1-year anniversary of the soldiers who died in Afghanistan, and he was invited by the family. And of course, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Not only Kamala wasn't even there when the coffins came home, and Joe Biden never spoke to the family members, and they are angry because he won't acknowledge that pullout was really bad. Well, of course, there was a million excuses. The keyboard warriors, the X team, the social media team, the bought and paid for media. Had to go after Trump for taking pictures with the family and not being allowed in certain sections. And then we hear this crazy story, which is not proven, that there was an altercation between the Trump's people and the people in Arlington, which is not true. But they ran with the story. So, but this is what you don't hear. Listen to the Gold Star families actually defending Trump. Watch.
President Trump has been there for us.
Videos like this shared by Donald Trump on social media. Part of his defense from criticism that his campaign violated protocol and federal law by including images from the visit in a video posted on TikTok.
That disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
On Saturday, Kamala Harris posted, "The former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt," prompting some Gold Star family members to fire back.
These are the only memories we get to make with our son, and it is you who is playing politics.
As other Trump supporters took to the Sunday talk shows to defend him and slam Harris.
She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer. They were with them at the dignified transfer.
NBC's Meet the Press later issuing this correction, saying Biden was in attendance, but Harris was not, as another statement is now also in dispute.
We invited both President Trump and the Biden-Harris administration, and we didn't hear back from the White House.
Now the White House says that is simply not true. There was no invitation received. Meanwhile, the family of a Green Beret whose gravesite was shown in this photo also raising concerns. They did not give permission for it to be used in a fundraising email.
For veterans across the country to see that Donald Trump is using Arlington Cemetery and the graves there as some sort of TikTok campaign video is highly offensive.
Looking back to that chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, that was the moment President Joe Biden's poll numbers started to dip down and never really bounced back. Some political analysts see it as a winning issue for Donald Trump, one reason he may be trying to keep it in the public conversation.
So it's their grave. It's the family's grave. It's their son's, daughter's, husband's body. You can do whatever you want.
That's right. So the dignified is when the coffins come home. If you recall, that's when Biden was looking at his watch. Photo of Biden actually looking at his watch during that. It's just amazing to me. They want to run away from the issue, the Biden administration and Harris. And I don't think that they're going to be able to. But the fact is that Trump was requested to be there. He spent all day there with them. Tulsi Gabbard was there. There were many people there. But did you see where I got the story? TND, because I couldn't get the family, Gold Star families clips from anywhere else. No other news media carried their outrage that Harris or Biden were actually chastising Trump for actually being there. So I had to go find an obscure news station to find that from. All right. So, you know, let's take a look at what happened with Israel and the hostages. And this is Joe Biden about Netanyahu. I hope it goes over because I see that my internet is blinking as usual.
Hirsch's body, along with the bodies of 5 other hostages, recovered from underneath the city of Rafah. Israeli officials believe Hamas killed them shortly before military forces were able to get in and rescue them. The killing sparking outrage and protests all across Israel. In fact, at one point, it caused several flights to stay grounded or delayed for hours. This, of course, followed clashes between demonstrators and police in Tel Aviv overnight. Thousands taking to the streets, blaming the killings on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Are you planning to present a final hostage deal to both sides this week?
We're very close to that.
What makes you think that this deal will be successful in a way that the other deals were not?
Hope springs eternal.
Mr. President, do you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue? Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
Mr. President, what is your reaction to the demonstrations across Israel? What is your reaction to the demonstrations?
I'm going to get the detail when I walk in, and I'll talk to you after that, okay?
Thank you. Last best chance for a deal, Mr. President.
Do you have a message for the hostages' family, sir?
Yes, I've spoken to the American hostage. I spoke to his mom and dad, and we're not giving up. We're going to continue to push as hard as we can. Thank you.
So our question here, you heard President Biden say Netanyahu's not doing enough. That simple answer of no. Could this final proposal put the pressure on Netanyahu that's needed to finally get a ceasefire deal and get this done and get the rest of the hostages out alive?
You know, that no is really, really powerful, and it shows the pressure that the United States is putting on Netanyahu to make a deal. They feel, I would interpret from that Israel needs to make more concessions. But having said that, Netanyahu, for the past 6 months or so, has resisted American pressure and pressure from the street and pressure from the families of the hostages. One problem, or his dilemma, basically, is that he wants to stay in power, and the far-right members of his cabinet are threatening to topple the government if he makes a deal to stop the war. So I think Netanyahu may continue to resist that pressure.
Robert, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate those thoughts.
Thank you.
Of course, all of this is playing out while Britain says they are suspending giving weapons to Israel. Their concern, as stated today, weapons they give could be used to break international law.
You know what this is like? If a parent has children that are beaten every day at school, one gets kidnapped, and then the parent says, you know what, enough is enough, because now their kids are being tormented or whatever. Enough is enough, stop. You know, this is inhumane, it's cruel. Your kids were beaten, brutally beaten, raped, kidnapped, and you're going to stop? He's the parent of this country. So right. They were homegrown here. They came and terrorized us. They terrorized every other country. So when does it end? It will never end until somebody does something.
That's right. Hamas has to be wiped off the face of the earth.
Has to.
Because these terrorist organizations are the reason for the brutality that is going on in the world. And we have this here.
Hamas. We're talking about 9/11. I mean, and we're still honoring, talking. It never leaves the conversation here. And why should it there?
Well, but now Britain is not sending over weapons because they're afraid that they're going to be used in violation of international law.
They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to be hurt
because a lot, London is turning Muslim. So we've got issues. We've got issues in Paris. We've got issues in London. We have issues all over the world, and they're not easily fixed. But let's just quickly watch. I'll just show it quickly. The Abraham Accord that Trump negotiated and was being signed. Not 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Watch.
The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, His Highness, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the United Arab Emirates, and the Minister of the Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Bahrain will now sign the Abraham Accords. They will each sign 4 copies, 1 in English, 1 in Hebrew, and 2 in Arabic.
And they're all getting along.
Imagine that.
They're
Imagine
laughing.
that. Hundreds of thousands of years of fighting, and he manages to pull them all together to come to an agreement. I mean, how and the press wants to demonize him, and look at how it is unraveled under one administration. How quickly, and I'll go back to 2019. Let's talk about the economy under Donald Trump. Actually, I think this was 2018 or 2017. Watch.
But first, this weekend will mark a full year since President Trump was inaugurated. It has been a week of good economic news, which he touted today, including the Dow Jones Industrial Average quickly cracking the 26,000 mark, and Apple announcing that it will bring huge overseas profits back to invest in the U.S., paying tens of billions of dollars in taxes. How much of that credit should go to the president? Our economics correspondent Paul Salman posed that question for his weekly series, Making Sense.
Unemployment 4.1%, down from 4.8 when President Trump took office. GDP growing at more than 3%, faster than the last 2 Obama years. The stock market hitting new highs nearly every day. And President Trump says it's a function of his policies. Here he is in Pennsylvania this afternoon.
At the center of America's resurgence are the massive tax cuts that I just signed into law, with tremendous tax relief for working families, for small businesses, for big businesses that produce jobs, for just about everybody. Tremendous numbers, and you're already seeing what's happening.
And so the question, does the president deserve the credit?
On policy, I would give him maybe a B- to a B.
Lerman calls himself a moderate or market economist. He likes much of what Trump is doing for the economy.
I think the corporate reforms make sense. I think he's been pro-energy. Now, you can argue against it on environmental grounds, but I think that several steps will expand output in the energy field.
And that means jobs.
And that means jobs, and usually good jobs.
Lerman needs to find a new business to buy his ties at, because Lerman's ties are very big.
He's an economist. That's what they do. They're supposed to look like that. You wouldn't believe they were a good economist if they didn't look like that.
The disheveled hot mess.
Yes, that's the uniform of professors and economists. That's what they have to look like. If you saw an economist in a $5,000 suit, I think you'd be a little suspicious.
He bought the tie by the pound.
All right, and let's just take a quick look at crime back in 2019.
The Department of Justice releasing its violent crime report for 2019. It shows a significant decrease in the number of victims.
Again, this is for 2019. There were 1.4 million in 2018, and the number dropped to 1.2 million last year. The DOJ says this is the first statistically significant decrease since 2015.
And they also found the rate of violent crime fell 15%. Among women, violent victimization fell 27%. All these numbers do not include simple assault. Some of the other declines include 880,000 fewer victims of serious crimes.
The report is based on the National Crime Victimization Survey. It includes violent incidents reported to law enforcement and those not reported. The survey's definition of violent crime includes rape, sexual assault, robbery, and an assault. The reason it bases these numbers off of information supplied by people who say they were victimized.
Do you know how hard I have to look to find these old clips?
Yeah. Thank God you're retired.
It's ridiculous how Google buries them. Absolutely buries them. I remember when Trump was president, every single month, jobs reports strong, inflation down, economy booming, this and that and the other thing. And, people forget all of that because COVID, right? And that disaster. And then, of course, at every single turn, the press was giving him grief because they didn't want him there. They did not want him to succeed. Here was a guy who had no business being president, and they did not want him to succeed. So to find these clips it's horrific.
But he was one of the most spectacular businessmen in American history. Isn't that what you need for your country? A businessman.
And he was the most renowned businessman. Everybody knew him all over the world. You could love him or hate him, but mostly they loved him.
Oprah loved him.
2015, it all disappeared after he came down that escalator and said he was running for president. It's crazy. But for Harris, and Biden, they twist themselves into pretzels. To give her good news. Now, this is fantastic. This is the same reporter on the same issue talking about Harris. Watch this.
One of the programs she started on truancy, which is what a lot of people have been hitting my Twitter feed about, how, that program, from their criticism is it separated black children from their families. She talks about the fact that, there were a lot of tough decisions that were made, but I stand by them. She's going to have to talk about that more fully. Kamala Harris never sent parents to jail for their kids' truancy.
How's that?
Wait, so you send kids to jail for truancy? I mean, parents?
Parents, yeah.
Really?
So, well, in California, that was the law at the time, is that if your kid continues to stay out of school, they're going to send the parent to jail to catch their attention and get kids.
And then the kid will really not go to school because he'll have no parents. Good luck with that one.
Well,
but that's how you got today's California.
Yeah, well, he was saying it as if it was a bad thing, right? And then he turned himself around in 2024 to defend her. So, oh my God, I can't even. Sick and beyond twisted. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." Indeed, Billy Nolan. What reason can they give for wantonly killing captive hostages? I thought they were seeking peace talks to stop their own babies from starving. Talk about real terror. Well, there you go.
They don't care about the babies.
They don't care about anything except for they are on a religious. This is a religious tirade that they're on, and they believe that their job is to protect Allah and to
the 72 ugly virgins that are not virgins anymore that are up there.
I mean, we know full well that they know how to use mind screwing, with people, and they know how to use the media for sure. Okay, let's see. I know that we're running long. I don't know how that we managed to do that. All right. So we've played this before, but just a reminder of who's running for president of the United States on the Democratic Party line.
And there's no sound or fume.
There is nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's all there is.
For all of
to
us
it.
who are used to
every morning
filling our tank, you usually can smell it and you can hear it. You can hear the guzzling sound.
Right.
None of that.
None of that.
So how do I know it's actually working?
It is.
Plug it in and hold the plug for the entire 2 hours that it takes to charge your electric vehicle.
Put a mask on.
Well, that was back when the Biden administration were mandating masks for everybody. So they had to set an example. Okay, so I'm hoping that even with the media tainting things, telling half a story, not telling lies and fibs, as we've seen, in just the clips that we just saw. We saw two where, what was it? MSNBC was arguing with Representative Cotton about whether Kamala was at the dignified transfer and having to come back and saying that she wasn't and she was wrong. And then we saw the other one, the CNN contributor, talking about Kamala sending parents to jail for truancy and then saying she never did. we're hoping that Americans don't buy into the rhetoric and do their own research. And if this is any indication of people understanding what's going on for real, this is New York City. Watch.
Trump or Kamala?
Who the fuck is Kamala?
I say Trump. My boy Trump a gangster. He went on hood tour. My boy surviving bullets. He think he's Superman and shit, so yeah.
Has Kamala done anything for you?
Not that I know of, no.
If Donald Trump was here right now, what would you tell him?
You're a gangster.
If we'd had Trump in the chair, we wouldn't be overwritten with them migrants.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Why?
When Trump was in office, everything was straight. Ain't nobody happy with Biden in office.
How do you feel that he just dropped out and now Kamala is actually going to be the one running?
I mean, I didn't really know who she was until, Biden dropped out.
The whole Democratic Party is overrun with communists right now. We really need Trump. When the Democrats couldn't use trials against Trump to make him lose popularity, they resorted to violence.
Wow. So you're saying Trump 2024?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. And it's going to be that way.
You think he's going to win?
He's got to win. It's going to happen for sure.
I hope they go vote. I hope they can vote. I go all of them.
Yeah, it would be good if we did our job. They should be registered if we did our job, but who knows?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
No one cares.
Google colluded with the government. Indeed. America is ran on business. It is absolutely. Let's see. I'm far behind in commentary. Clearly, liberated women today don't give a damn about real crime fighting initiatives. They only care about the unprotected splash. Yeah, it's amazing. If you were a Martian landing on Earth at the Democrat convention, you would think that the humans were insane because all they wanted is the right to kill their unborn.
To cut your balls off and give you plan B.
Yeah.
But that's all. That's it. That's all she has.
Yeah.
That's all she has. So everyone's going to run rampant and have unprotected sex so that they can not have babies and they can kill them when we have crime, no money.
Well,
I mean, I get it. I wouldn't want to bring a kid into this world because there is crime, no money, no safety. But still.
Well, we've become amoral. We have become a country. They separate you from God first, right? Then from your family, then from your moral values. This is how you transfer, the attention and devotion from the things that produce positive results to the things that produce negative results. We're talking about having children as young as 4 years old changing their sexuality or knowing that they're born in the wrong body. And so we're sexualizing children.
My son's going to be 20. He still doesn't know what he wants to eat. Still doesn't know what he likes. Let alone if he wants a vagina or not.
but by the news media and Hollywood, your son is way past the age to make a decision about whether he wants to mutilate his body to be something else.
He calls me to show me the shirt he's wearing because he doesn't know. Is it too big?
Yeah, well, that's how it is for most people. But the way it's portrayed on TikTok, in the movies, in the media, your brain is slammed with these messages, and then you feel like you're the odd person out. And you don't want to be left out. So you change your whole morality and everything to fit in. It's the emperor has no clothes. We've talked about that before, too.
We should just ban social media from the country. And I said it time and time again.
You do that, and then what you just said is communism, socialism, authoritarianism.
We never had it before. Look how happy the world was.
Listen, that's what got Castro in office. That's what got Hitler in office. That promise of a better world, and we're going to control everything, and you're going to be so much better.
But they're controlling it with it on.
No, how about instead of banning things, how about let's get our kids in the right spot. Let's remember that, whatever God that your religion that you want to be a part of, that you keep that focus in your heart and soul. How about that family is the center of things instead of tearing it apart? How about that we teach kids to work hard to achieve good things? How about if we teach them right from wrong? How about if we take sex out of the equation until they're old enough to understand it? How about that? Instead of
That would
saying,
be great, but you know how much hard work that is, and no one's willing to do it.
well, there are people who are willing to do it. You did it with your son. I did it with you. And hopefully others are doing it with their kids. So, let's not go for the easy way. It's the easy way that got us where
But you
we
know,
are.
I hate social media. Although it's my job, I hate it.
Yeah, well, you know what? It is a tool. And if used correctly, it's a good tool. If used improperly, it's a bad tool. The problem is, how do we show people that they can have the courage to stand up and say, the emperor has no clothes? You're asking all to think. That's a hell of a tall order for, yeah, well, guess what? I am saying, think for yourself. Think for yourself. Don't go the easy way. The Martians will go to the Trump rally because they know the DNC sucks.
Look at cowboy hat.
Trump is and always fights for us, and Biden and Harris are evil traitors to us. What the F? Enough is enough. Well, you know what, Susan? There's so many traitors in our government. We have to identify them and kick them out. Because of the sexualization of children, and gays and lesbians are walking away from the Democrat Party. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Principled education with application toward a future. That would be a great thing. Wouldn't it be nice if they spent time actually teaching children to do math, to balance a checking account, to earn a living, the skills needed to be a good human being? That would be a good thing. We went off the deep end somewhere.
But you know what? Let me tell you something. Today in New York, the chancellor wants to take cell phones away from kids. And there was one mother who was actually very smart. She goes, no. She goes, you can't do that because then you're teaching our kids not to have control. Why don't we teach them to control themselves?
There you go.
Because, and I was like, who is this? And she was like, no. She goes, first off, you're going to spend your whole day, because these kids, they put them in pouches with a magnet. Now they have to come in to school earlier, stay later. They need their phones. This is how life is. She goes, they're smarter than us. They'll get the phones out. Those cost $30 a pouch. Now what? She goes, they are too smart not to have their phones. So why don't we teach them punishment, what's going to happen, how to control yourself, and everything will be easy. Instead of spending the whole day without education, now we're going to spend the whole day reprimanding for having your phone when you get it out of the pouch.
That's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Real life. Teach children how to operate as functioning adults in real life. Parents need to parent, as Lucille Chavone said. Parenting, we have to do it. Okay. Dragging kids up is not bringing kids up. Indeed. Don't be the puppet, cut the strings and be the master. Excellent. My gay friends are Trump supporters. Like anything else, right?
All my friends
You're gonna have people of all different sexual orientations, supporting different people. If people who have moral conservative values are going to be Trump supporters for sure. I just don't know what else to say. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing to be America again? Well, Reagan did it once. Let's see if we could do it again. Capital punishment. Agreed. Self-control is self-discipline, willful obedience to orders and respect for authority. Yeah. The thing is, as long as we keep on saying that the government is the almighty master, we are all slaves to it. So let's be free, think for ourselves, and do what needs to be done. Nothing is going to be perfect, nothing. But, we start with ourselves, right? We start with ourselves by speaking up and not being afraid. All right, Jen, you get the last word.
I don't. I have an 8:30 phone call for work.
Okay, very good. And your son, who can't
lovely,
has been calling me. So thank you, everybody, for watching.
He wants to show you something. It's pretty cool.
His new dog?
No, they didn't get it.
Okay. All right. So anyway, next Tuesday is the debate. I believe it's at 9 o'clock. So, but we will, we will be 1 hour indeed, maybe even less. All right. See you next Tuesday, everybody. Love you.
Bye. Love you.